soon as I got to know Ankur sir said that Rahul sir will be here, I was like, I have to sit on the cool seat with Rahul sir. There is nobody else who's going to call the shots, and that are the perks of being the manager of Vibrant Forum. Anyway, so. What I would like to tell everyone before we start the conversation is that Rahul sir has a story of the real gully boy similar kind of a story, and it is actually something which is very inspirational, and I am sure that it will be uh, converted into a Bollywood or a Hollywood or some kind of a movie very soon. I am 110% sure. So sir, without wasting any time, why don't you tell us yourself about your journey from where you started and now where you are? How has the journey been?
I would say, Anshuman, I call myself Ganpati's favorite child because I've been blessed to be at the right place at the right time. And I'll turn 50 this year on the 1st of October.
You look 30.
So my grandfather from my mother's side, Rudram Thakur, comes from a village near Jalandhar. I guess I inherited his genetic code. I'm a 7-month baby. I'm a premature baby. And from the time I'm born and to whatever journey I've had, whenever things have not gone as per plan, Bombay ki bhasha mein bolte hain vaat lag gayi hai. Something really awesome has come for me, true for me. So from being a very thin, single pusly, haddi Pelwan kid who was called Pehelwan by Dr. Bhatia who delivered me, because apparently for the first 24 hours when I came into this world, the chances of me surviving were very, very slim. And every time the operating team had sort of given up kiye gaya and would turn around, I would cry out and say, nahi, wapas aa jao. And Dr. Bhatia would call me Pelwan. People would laugh ki ye kahan se Pelwan hai. To the fact that I was supposed to go to a convent school called St. Xavier's in Kanjurmarg. My dad's factory shut down and born in what is called a chawl or a slum. So I couldn't go there. I went to a very nice small school called, I used to call it SPSJV. The full form was Sadarni Pratap Singh Janta Vidyalaya. उस टाइम पे मुझे कूल नहीं लगता था बोलना कि I study in Janta Vidyalaya. Now of course I take that back. But very early in life I had a fight with all the kids in my slum. For some reason वो जाति से बाहर कर देते ना हरियाणा में खाप पंचायत. वैसे उन्होंने मेरे को ostracize कर दिया. Okay. And because I had nothing better to do, I was very traumatized that nobody's playing with me. But that led to me getting into the habit of reading. And I was blessed to have this Raddiwala across my chawl who had the best of books and magazines. So I learned my English from that scrap dealer. So from Fortune, Time, Newsweek, I was reading all this, standing on the road because I didn't have the money to take the book to my home also. So I became shameless. My English became better than the school I was in. I started topping. And because I didn't have the money to go to college, my mom incidentally is Punjabi, so she got me my first formal job in life, 1989. I was a ward boy in the night shift in a hospital in a place called Mulund in Mumbai. And then I did sales. I have the singular distinction of being in the first formal entrepreneurship program of this country in 1992 by Professor Khandwala of IIM Ahmedabad and Joe Phillips of IIM Bangalore. But I also have the unique privilege of being the only student they expelled from that program for being a troublemaker and asking too many questions. The joke is I'm the only entrepreneur from all the batches which have passed out of that school. Again, it was a different country. I did various things. I did my first startup in 1996, before that word was there. Then I did Asia's first interactive music channel called Channel Oxygen in 1998 in Mumbai. Met a girl online through a sheer prank by my friends on jeevansathi.com. This girl was from a Delhi girl, South Delhi, Safdarjung Enclave. She conned me into moving from Bombay to Delhi in the year 2000. She actually said कि no ये Bombay समझ नहीं आता सब लोग भागते रहते हैं पता नहीं क्यों भागते हैं people are very rude because तू तड़ाक से बात करते हैं so let's look at Delhi for a year and next year we'll move back and अपनी life की पहली शादी थी so I actually believed her. It's been 21 years I'm still stuck in South Delhi and I learned 2 things from that experience. Don't trust things you get on the internet. I got my wife there. And all Delhiites are thugs. So I moved here, got a job. I thought I'm from Bombay. I know everybody comes from all over India, so Bombay would be cool. Realized one key lesson learned in 21 years in North India, especially Delhi, is done hai ji does not mean done hai ji. It is subject to interpretation. So I went for my first sales call, thought sale is done. After meeting them 55 times, समझ आया इसका कुछ और मतलब है. My wife, Pallavi Rao, born brought up B7, was a school teacher in St. Mary's teaching geography, wanted to be an RJ. Okay. She quit her job thinking मेरे पास stable job है. We got married 2001. I lost my job on the day of my reception. Never went for a honeymoon, never been on a honeymoon ever. out of sheer desperation, took the first job I could find. I was running a media channel, music channel, got into a real estate company called Ansals. That's how I know Omax.
Okay.
Got a job as a senior manager in a place called District Center Janakpuri,
Right.
which is West Delhi. If you have been there, अपने हाथों से एक ही काम किया. I built an amphitheater there physically. Again, best thing that would have happened, I learned my Delhi there. Did a crazy deal for my boss, Pranav Ansal. Got promoted to Vice President Marketing. Did various things for 10 years in real estate retail. 2009, I created a company called fashioninu.com, which was India's first apparel startup selling luxury online. मार्केट में रूमर ये थी डीएलएफ से नौकरी छोड़ के ये किया था कि इसको नौकरी से निकाल दिया आफ्टर द रिसेशन. कुछ काम धंधा है नहीं तो घर पे बैठ के इंटरनेट पे कपड़े बेच रहा है. एंड एवरीबडी इन 2009 सेड घर इंटरनेट पे कपड़े कौन खरीदेगा. We became the second startup in India to raise $8 million from Sequoia,
Wow.
then 40 million, then $128 million. 2013, I partnered with NDTV to create a company called IndianRoots.com, selling Indian apparel to Indians outside India. Our business plan was $3 million in cash funding. Our investor died 2 days before giving us the money.
Oops.
After that, all I could raise was 84 lakhs. And my plan was 18 crores cash. Again, the best thing that could have happened to me because we sold that company for 560 crores in 3 years. So that built my CV. So whenever things have not gone as per plan for me, it's worked for me. The only thing that has not worked and didn't go as per plan is the love of my life, Pallavi Rao. I lost her on 18th of May last year. She is a warrior because she was an RJ with Radio Mirchi. 2005, she got diagnosed with something called myasthenia gravis autoimmune disorder. Then she has thymoma, which is a rare form of cancer. Then she had a respiratory failure. She had 8 surgeries. And she was a fighter throughout. So at the peak of her career, first surgery, 2005, one of her vocal cords got cut, the other got paralyzed. She lost the voice. Head of ENT Apollo said she'll never get it back. She wrote on a piece of paper, I will go back on air. Honestly, nobody believed it. The best doctors from Sloan Catering to Tata Memorial couldn't do anything. But a young boy, yoga teacher from Delhi, worked with her with pranayam, yoga, nutrition. 2.5 years later, she got the voice back, went back on air. Radio Mirchi went nuts. They spent some 3.5 crores on a campaign saying Pallavi's back.
Wow.
Back on air. I was doing fashion in you. Millionaire on paper. Peak. She got a relapse. 5 tumors behind the lungs. Back to Apollo. Surgery, radiation, chemo. That was her journey for 16 years. But my wife is such a warrior that when she was 2015, she had a meltdown. She was in Apollo. And Dr. Chawla, the lung surgeon, comes and says, Rahul, there's only one option. We'll have to do a tracheostomy. Gale mein ek hole karenge. And this is the vendor. Ventilator le lo. 4 months. We'll put a pipe here and that's it. I said, can we wait for 4 days? He said, why? I said, I want to celebrate her birthday, 17th October. And I want to launch a book. He said, what book? So 1 year before this incident, 2014, Pallavi was on the ventilator. And her body was paralyzed. Only her thumbs were working. And to keep her mind occupied, we put a phone in front of her, just to keep her mind. And I was running my startup sitting in the Cafe Coffee Day in Apollo, Delhi. And for a very brief moment, in entire 16 years, only for that brief moment, Pallavi got into this situation of why me? मैंने किसी का क्या बिगाड़ा है? Why is God doing this to me? And I told her, Yede, you should say thank you to Ganpati. We are blessed. She said, are you nuts? I said, I came to Delhi with $400 in my pocket. You had quit your job. We didn't have money. We spent so much on medical bills. Logically, we should have been in the footpath outside AIMS. You're in the best hospital of the city. Our son Rian absolutely fine. We have servants at home. This is a solvable problem. She said, साले तू तो नीचे बैठ के कॉफी पी रहा है, मैं यहाँ फंसी हूँ. I said, you're an artist. कुछ तो imagine कर. She said, I'm in the stroke ICU because except her, every patient is in coma. I said, try. Next day morning, I wake up and she sent me this long message. She wrote a love story on her phone, visualizing the patient opposite her bed.
Wow.
I sent her back 2 words, Orlik. She sent me back 1 word, Kamine. But she ended up writing 7 love stories on her phone when her entire body is paralyzed.
Wow.
That I have published as a book called ICU Love Stories. It's on Amazon. And this is getting made into a web series by Jio, Siddharth Roy Kapoor. And I said, let's launch it. So we launched this book in the ICU with her on the ventilator with 4 months of life left, as per the doctor. I don't know what that triggered. From 2015 till 2021, she bounced back. The same doctor came back after 2 days, bola some medical miracle. no need for a tracheostomy, but she has to be on BiPAP support. So she fought, she lived, and so that's been the luckiest thing in my life, that I got to spend 21 years of my life. Whatever I've done in the startup world, the funding and all of that, that's there. But I'm really blessed to have had spent time with Pallavi Rao as my wife. That's my wife.
We're all shaken, and I'm really sorry for your loss. May the soul rest in peace. She was an absolute fighter, and I think we all.
Anshuman, in my case, was doesn't work. It always is.
Right.
I don't know if it makes sense, but for me, she is.
She is.
There's
Definitely.
no was.
Definitely. And we will definitely check out this book and the web series whenever it is out. And so, I have to come back to your life also. And I have to ask you that you have done jobs that we all or some of us might look down upon. And then we talk about koi kaam chota nahi hota. I think you are the perfect example for that. So what do you have to say to this quote, koi kaam chota nahi hota, and how did you make it big by doing chote kaam?
So I'll tell you honestly, from where I'm coming from, it didn't seem chota kaam, honestly. Okay? Because before I became a ward boy, I used to wash trucks, I've sold watermelons on the streets. And honestly, abhi lagta hai ki yaar wo tha. Us time pe the most fun I had was in that chawl, yaar. You know? So recently I'd gone to a place called Nasik just before COVID. And I was coming back from Nasik and I drove past Mulund Cheknaka. And I'm sitting in my S-Class Mercedes, chauffeur driven. And I suddenly remembered that I had washed trucks here at Cheknaka and I had made 2 rupees. That wo 2 rupee ka note jo haath mein tha na, that, and I'd walked back home. That joy, today $1 million check doesn't give you, right? So time ki baat hai yaar. When there are certain times wo 1 rupee ki bahut value, and there are times I've been miserable in a suite in Times Square and I've had the best sleep of my life when I'm doing a 100-kilometer trail walk, which I do sometimes, sleeping under a tree. So it's all subject, kya bolte hai?
Subjectivity.
Context.
Right.
It's all
Since
context.
you've come to the topic of context, I have to ask you, what is the importance of perspective? Because I remember this scene, since I mentioned Gully Boy, I remember this scene in Gully Boy where Ranveer Singh goes and there are other drivers talking about how to make dal while he wants to do something different. So you have grown up in a chawl and people around you might be thinking of other things while you were thinking of reading books, how to understand, how to learn. So what is the difference in perspective? Why is
I
it
think
that
that's the only thing, Anshuman. So I'll tell you, when I was born from 72 to about 89, 90, the way Indian economy was, my neighbor's best career option at that point in Bhandup, Bombay, where I'm born, was to be a shooter in a gang. Because jobs hi nahi the. Luckily for me, because I was reading so much inspirational stories, my virtual world was so different. And I said, yaar, mere se zyada kharab logon ne mere se zyada ukhada hai, so I need to aim bigger.
Right.
But I could never translate that to my neighbors. They just never got it. So maybe they didn't have that perspective. So I'm very blessed that they ostracized me so that I got into reading.
Okay, got it. So now going into the second part of your movie, interval ho gaya, next part start hua. Now let's talk about entrepreneurship. Why did you choose the retail market? Why did you choose apparel? What is it about the clothing industry that moves you, that you keep coming back to startups that are related to clothing and apparel?
So one thing I used to tell my wife all the time is the best part of working for a fashion company is you can be like totally checking out a hot lady and say I'm working, right? But jokes apart, if you look at any of the economies, whenever there's a recession, the best metric of the health of an economy is sales of apparel.
Okay.
Okay. It has to do with our inherent nature of looking good and all of that. And I did 2 startups in the old economy before internet became the thing. But in internet, maybe it's because of social media, Instagram, it's amplified big time. But in most cases, it's not been a very planned thing. I'm looking at the data. I've sort of stumbled onto opportunities. And I stumbled onto Fashion and You. I met somebody because of my habit of reading. I was able to connect 2 dots. I stumbled onto Indian Roots with NDTV. Now we are doing Metaverse, me and Nikhil. We have sort of stumbled onto it. So it's not a very planned thing.
Right. Since you mentioned Metaverse, now I have to ask you, is that the future? Like
It's
Metaverse?
the present.
It's okay. It's the present.
So I'll just give you a brief description. Web 1.0, the generation before me, Sanjeev Bikhchandani and Rediff and all that, was about one-way thing, that you could read information on the internet.
Right.
Web 2.0 is Facebook and Insta and all of that, where you could interact with, it's a two-way thing. Web 3.0 is about one-word experience. You are experiencing the internet as you do. And hardware is, of course, catching up.
Right.
Meta today here in India seems to be the future. It's already the present. Just to give you one number, 59 billion euros of transactions have happened in fashion on the metaverse as of today.
Right.
So
it
and
is
in
the
India there are
present.
3 things. So till 2020, I used to say someday India's startup ecosystem will explode. Whenever I would travel to Chandigarh or Ludhiana or Jalandhar, all the old economy businessmen and smart people would tell me, Rahul ji, ये तो bubble है जी, ये तो कुछ scam है, आप लोग तो losses करते हो, पता नहीं क्या valuations है, आपस में ही करते रहते हो. 2019, more money came into Indian startups than ever. 2020 broke all that records. 2021 went miles ahead in terms of number of unicorns and all that. And as of this year, it's just started. It's going to be an outlier. So this is the India decade. Geo, China, and COVID are the 3 reasons Indian economy for the next 10 years is boom time for startups.
Understood. So I think we are sitting in a room full of successful people. This could be the top 1% of Tri-City India, but the success curve, the biggest success curve here will be of yours, because you started literally from the ground level and now you made it big. So I have to ask you, how do you define success?
It changes from time to time. So when I started out, I wanted to make 300 rupees a month because I thought, दिन के 100 रुपए कहाँ खर्चूंगा, मेरा पर्सपेक्टिव ही नहीं था, ठीक है. Then it went 3,000, 30,000, 3 lakh. That never stops. Okay. Sometimes when you are able to impact a life, okay. So I had gone to a very small place in Aurangabad to give a lecture at a college which was in Marathi. And after my speech was done, the one side is all the boys, one side is all the girls. And the girls, of course, were not speaking at all. So I went and I said, why are you not speaking? And after a lot of coaxing, this young girl came to me and said, Dada, and this is only happening in pure Marathi, that I want to, can I take your number? So I was like, yes, why? And I said, what? So I'm doing BTech, my brother is studying MTech, we are Dalit family, poor, scholarship pe hain. My idea, Dada, is to do, in Marathi, she said, worm farming. So I said, oh, how much funding do you need? She said, no, I don't need any money because that doesn't cost money. So I said, then what can I help you with? She said, no, I only once in a while want to talk to you because everybody is discouraging me that as a BTech student, how can you get your hands dirty? But Dada, if I do this worm farming, I'll be able to earn an average of 15,000 rupees a month, which is huge for my family. I was blown away. And I looked at her hand and she had a dumb phone in her hand. So I said, can I buy you a smartphone? She looked at me, Anshuman, and she said, yes, you are my elder brother, you can. But Dada, imagine if I buy a smartphone from my own earnings, wouldn't you be proud of me?
Wow.
That day I felt that is success for me, that I was able to interact with that girl at that point of time.
Right.
Okay. There are times when I wanted to get, so I've been a Dhirubhai Ambani fan earlier when I was growing up, so I wanted what he had.
Right.
That changed over a period of time. Now I want to create at least 1 million such entrepreneurs at the grassroots level. The day I achieve that, that will be success for me. And then of course, there will be another goal.
Understood. Thank you so much, sir. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I guess everyone here enjoyed. And since Simriti is here, I think it's time for us to say goodbye. So thank you so much, sir.
I have to say it was a very, very inspiring story, and kudos to the strength and courage of your late wife, the late Mrs. Pallavi Rao. Please, a huge round of applause for her strength. Very, very inspired.